Hey everyone, welcome back to the live stream today. We're working on our Ford Transit van conversion for John and Susan, and I wanted to go ahead and film what I'm working on in the van before I got too far, because we're going to be moving on to a couple different things, waiting on that cable to come in from EcoFlow. So we're going to move to insulation a little bit on the top, and then so we're going to pause on the ceiling for a second. We're going to do the insulation, and then we're going to hop up this afternoon on tonight's live stream, and we'll install the Max fan up on the top. All right, so a couple things about insulation. We're using Havelock wool for this van, and we bought 4 boxes. I'm not sure how many bats are in a box, but there's a calculator on Havelock wool's website. Not sponsored, but check out the calculator. It'll tell you how many square feet that it's going to cover for your van. So they have some type of calculation. And then we're going to use Kill Mat, which is a sound dampening material. And we're using the real thin, I think it's like 50 mil, something like that. Anyway, we're, see Jamie's on the stream, nice. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you a couple of tips. So we're going to go ahead and hop in the van and get going here. All right, so we've already, I've already started working on this, obviously, but I wanted to just pause, get the camera going so you guys can capture what I'm doing here and kind of my thought process behind it. So for me, sound dampening takes the cargo out of the van. And what I mean by that is, this is what's going to make this van not be so of a hollow, that tinty rattling sound. It does what it's intended. It dampens the sound. And to kind of nerd out for a second, basically what you're doing is you are changing the resonant frequency of the metal. So the metal has a natural frequency, or anything really, has a natural frequency which it vibrates. And when you excite it by driving or running over a road or something like that, from a vehicle standpoint, there'll be a certain time where it'll start making that rattle. So if you've ever had a tire out of balance, or you've gone on the highway and you've been driving and say one of your tires is out of balance, but you know, from 35 miles an hour to 60, you're fine. But when you go to pass somebody, you're driving super fast, like 80, 85, all of a sudden your steering wheel starts to shake. So there's all these different materials get excited at different frequencies. So long story short, what we're doing by adding the Kill Mat, and this is the same if you have a car stereo, that's why people that put subwoofers and stuff like that, their trunk, they take that and they put this in the trunk because it's changing that frequency, which it basically rattles. Now this van's not going to rattle, but what I've found that the Kill Mat, this is Kill Mat that we're using, that's the brand. But what I found that the sound dampening does in a van is it obviously takes the road noise and it quietens it down. But I didn't know this. I went to Venture Van Expo in Chattanooga and I was wrapping the van up for the night. And everybody is, it's quiet, but there's a couple people doing campfires and stuff like that, talking, just having a good time. And what was really cool is Adventure Wagon gives you all the material to do pretty much every single part of the van in a sound deadened material. And what just hit me by surprise is I was finishing the van up, taking the stuff out, go back to the hotel, and I opened the door and I shut it because it was freezing outside, and I'm gathering the things, and when I shut the door, the van was completely silent. You really couldn't hear, I mean, you could hear a little bit, but the noise is outside of the van. The volume was much lower. So you turn that into example for like sleeping at an RV or a campground or a park. It's going to make it more enjoyable because you're not going to hear all that outside noise. It's going to be quietening down, much more quiet than typical. So that's a benefit. So if you're kind of on the fence between buying more of this material, it's not that expensive, but a couple things you want to do is you want to make sure that you install it appropriately. You want to make sure the surfaces are clean. This is a new van, so we're pretty good on that. And then if you can, you want to get a rubber roller like this, and you want to be able to come in and really, get on top of it. And that helps it stick really well and not peel off. Now, once this van goes through like a heat cycle, so in the summer or just on a hot day, this is really going to almost be impossible to take off. If you take this off, it's just going to be kind of gooey. The film's going to break off. So the good news is it stays adhered to the van really well. So wherever you can put it in the van, just put it in the van. I buy the thin material, and you don't need the thick material. One, it's harder to cut, it's heavier, costs more. So I think, I'll show you guys this later, but I think this is the 80 mil. I think this is the 80 mil. Well, actually, heck, I got the box right here. This is 50 mil. So 50 MIL. 50 mil is the weight, I guess you would say, if you want to buy it. This may be on the DIY van build cheat sheet, link in description below. That cheat sheet has a bunch of these products that I use on it, and I think this is on it. If not, we'll put the link to, we'll talk about these two things when we hop on the computer. Anyway, back to the van. As many places as you can put this, put it, and it's going to really create that tinty sound and turn it more into a thud, and that's what you want. You don't have to go too crazy on the roof, especially if you have the whole thing decked in solar and stuff like that, because you're going to have, it's almost like having a second roof. But we did put, kill mat up there. So starting from the front, and we'll just kind of work our way back, we went ahead and put the kill mat in. And again, if you want to see some good videos talking about how to put insulation in a van, besides the ones that I'm doing for you guys, Adventure Wagon's YouTube is really good. So they have tutorials on how to stuff these chambers. So how to stuff these cross members, how to stuff the chambers, because what you don't consider is you think this is where this stops, but that's not. This actually goes way down into here. So you can fit, as you guys can see, my arm can go all the way down into here. Now you want to be really careful because it's extremely sharp in some places, but this bat started here and it goes all the way, and there's a big cavity right here. So the reason we want to insulate these places, we don't want to stuff them. We want to just, I always talk about lofting this, keeping this nice and light. But we're trying to prevent condensation because we have a change in temperature. Anytime there's a change in temperature, you'll have a place where water vapor can condense. So if you have a hot, humid outside and you have to dry inside because you got the AC running, there's going to be places where if you don't slow down that temperature difference, you're going to get condensation. Now, luckily with stuff like 3M, Thinsulate, that's hydrophobic, which means it doesn't tend to absorb water or moisture. Wool has some inherent properties. That's why everybody likes to use Havelock, because it's got some, I believe it has some antimicrobial properties, and it's able to not mold. Now, if you have a water leak in your van, that's a little different. So any type of material like this, you need to give it the best chance. So make sure everything's sealed up. You don't have any leaks. So if you're not working with a new van, you got a used van or old van, just double check. All the materials in the van are not perfect. So if you have a wet area like we do in the back, I tend to paint the panels with a mold inhibitor, and then over here inside the van you don't have to really worry about it. This, we're keeping it raw because we need the wood glue to it. So there's different ways to treat everything. But anyway, we stuffed this whole entire chamber here. And then just, put sound deadening in here where you can. And then when we start to move back, for this, what I've done is I've pre-cut this. So I know the chamber stops right here. And then this one, what's nice about Havelock is the way that they cut it, it tends to work really well with a bunch of parts in the van randomly. So the bats are already pretty much the size you need. You just need to kind of cut it to length. But we're just going to fold this over. And again, you can kind of just do like a light shake, and that kind of, again, it lofts it and kind of spreads it out. And then you just take it, watch out for all the sharp areas. And then right here, there's a big beam behind here. So I'm gonna have to stuff it back behind that beam. But then once it's in there, it looks pretty good. Now this, I have stuffed it. It's kind of like got this little accordion thing going on, which that's okay. But right here you can see we've got room for just a little bit more insulation. So while you're doing the insulation, try to make perfect cuts, and then all your off cuts just leave in a pile. And pretty much you can just grab one, and it'll probably be close, like this one was just laying on the ground. This is close to perfect because this doesn't want to go over here because the beam inside is taking up that space. So we're just going to take this one, and then we're just going to put it in here. Like that. And then we're just going to kind of pull it out like this, again, to kind of get it fluffed up, and then just lightly push it back in there. And if it's kind of coming out like this puffy part or whatever, that's good. So just leave it like that, because what's going to happen is we're going to take an upholstered panel and we're just going to bolt it in right there, and then this whole cavity is going to be good. And then if you want to get a little OCD about it, you can you can go for it. So for example, I can cut a little piece like this, and I can take these little holes and just fill them in. That's pretty much that. We'll probably have a full video when we do the whole entire bottom area. That's when we get the floor done. So as soon as that cable comes in, we can glue the floor in, and then we'll do the bottom insulation. The cool part about what we have right now is these panels are ready to go. Pretty much all we got to do when it's time, when I call it it'll be upholstery day. It's the day that I got all the fabric laid out, all the glue and adhesives, and I'll just knock out all these panels. I'll wrap them all. We'll do a big old live stream. And then they'll just pop back into the van. But right now, I'm just going to insulate the rest of this. And if you guys have any questions, just put it in the chat. And so here, see how this, every chamber is different. So you're going to have to, there's not really a standard approach to this, besides what I kind of said in the beginning. So we're just going to, again, just take our offcuts and get them in there. Just make sure they're like that. And I'm not going to do this side. We're installing a Rigid Industries light over here. And then this back part we're going to leave open so that we can Actually, yeah, this back section we'll do that too. Yeah, I'm going to leave this open because I need to run some wires. We need to cut our holes for the solar wires to come through. Up here, we got to build a little AC box around. You guys can't see. Let me back up the camera. So right here, this is pretty simple. All we got to do is we're going to glue this frame down, and then we're going to install the fan. And then this over here, we've got to build a little almost like a little AC return, air conditioning like return box. We'll do that out of that XPS foam that we're using for the floor. We'll use the XPS foam, and then we'll use some marine adhesive, and that's how we'll kind of glue this little box together, and then we'll foil line it. That's the only downside, I'd say, with something like Nomadic or the other companies, is you get this super efficient air conditioning unit. But this right here, I've never done it before, so this is going to be, you guys will get to see how I do it. But the reason they do this, and it has nothing to do with the AC unit, it can be any manufacturer, not Nomadic, but they do this because this is, this could be for an overlander truck, it could be for a big, RV, Winnebago. So this is kind of undecided when you're putting this product into multiple things. What's nice about the Dampening unit is it's already built into here, so it just drops right in. But the downside to the Dampening is 12 volts. Even though 12 volts is very efficient, if you're wanting to go further, the upgrade would be the 48 volt Nomadic unit. So. All right, what is the next thing I'm going to do? Yeah, I'm just going to start working here. There's a couple things I got to get to, so we're just going to leave the camera rolling. I'm going to move it a little bit of a wider shot, because I need to take off the driver's side panel. And we're going to be drilling some holes. Getting them sewed up, glued up. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, so this will be fun now. I'm just going to be doing a bunch of random things in the van. But I just wanted to knock out that first part with the insulation, because I really don't want to go too fast through this, because I know a lot of you guys are kind of following along. You guys watch the next live stream and the van's completely done, and you're like, what the heck? No, but the ceiling is moving very quickly, so I need to slow down, and I need to take this off. And I need to drill out my holes and start doing my wiring for everything up here. Because that's kind of what happens when you start building a van, is you'll get really good at one task that you're doing in the moment, and then you'll just do the whole entire van, but there's multiple layers to a van, as you guys can see when I build it. And you kind of have to jump to other things. You can't do one thing at a time. It just, in my opinion, takes too long. But we're taking this panel off. And And I like grabbing ideas from all kinds of different builders. For example, Humble Road, I really like his approach to 80-20 and mounting panels and kind of how he organizes everything. Also how he does the wiring. He's real big on making sure you have access to everything, which is nice. And then ABC Rig actually has some really good videos on what I'm about to do right now, which is I don't like doing wiring in the bottom area because there's a bunch of sharp areas, and I don't necessarily like doing wiring up here unless I have to, again because of all the sharp stuff. But what ABC Rig did is they got these like furniture grommets, and what we're going to do, this doesn't fall apart here. Is we got the furniture grommets are what we're going to use to make our transition of our wires behind this panel that I just took off. So right here on the bottom, you guys can see that. Did I zoom the camera too high? Nope, you can see that. And let me get a rag, wipe all that off. So we need to drill out some 1.5-inch holes, and then we're going to marine adhesive them in. Let's see, where my shop rags go? There we go. Okay, so this right here, I'll wipe that off. Okay. So this side, this is kind of cool. Over here, you see how this is cut out like that? So there's a rear mount air conditioning unit in some of these passenger vans, because you know this van can be a passenger van spec'd out. But this is not on that side. So if you want to run wires on that side, this is the method that they use to do that. So what I'm going to do is, let's see here. Yeah, I'm just going to start running some of that wire. Okay, let me change the camera. So really what I'm working on is, before I can finish the ceiling and move on to the next panel, I need to not get ahead of myself and start wiring for, I've got, let's see, we have our ceiling lights in the front that need a circuit. We need the reading lights for the front that need a circuit. We need the rigid industries light that needs a circuit. And we need the max fan that needs a circuit. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to minimize where I'm going to have to drill. And the only reason I'm having to drill is when you use these type of panels, it's wiring behind these panels is challenging. So what ABC Rig did is they drilled through here, and that's how they ran their wires for whatever you need behind the panel, which is pretty cool. Back here, we don't have to do that because we have this bump out, and what we're going to do is run all of our wires up through here. But we will have to do, I'm going to try to use this one for most of our wires. This is what I used for the Dampening 12 volt AC. Now, granted, those cables were really chunky. Those things were like 4-aught or 2-aught wires, very, very thick. This one, thankfully, I think is only 6 gauge. So 2 6-gauge wires are going to come through here, come down, and then we will, they're shielded very well from EcoFlow, which is nice. So all of EcoFlow wires got this really, really nice, really tough shielding on them. Not to mention the wire inside's thick. So that's something you really don't have to worry about. But we're just going to try to do some cable management. And then when we get up here, we can start working on this up here as well. Okay, you guys can see. Yeah, just let me know if you guys have any questions while we're doing this whole thing. What's nice about this stainless channel that's bent, because we had to offset it for the forward wiring over here, and we had to offset it over here to match. The cool thing is, what we have is we've got this really nice channel back here, and yeah, it's something I might do in more builds because, as you can see, I can really easily get my cable, and I can bring it through. Now we want to bring our cable and put it places where we know we're not going to have we're not going to drill, I guess is the easiest way to say it. And if we just kind of snake it like this, we can get it right where we want it. So I don't want it back here because we're going to be drilling all through here. But between this rib and here where the support is, this is going to be a great little, I call it like a wire highway. And what you do is you use this channel, and I can't get the, let's see if I can get, let me grab the max fan. So if we take our max fan shroud, this is pretty cool. So eventually this shroud is going to be inside the van. And so this is going to go up into the max fan. And then you can see that's going to create our, finished part. But what's cool, and I learned this by when we were designing Thomas's van, is that I didn't have a place to run any wires anymore. So I was like, man, I need to. We kept adding and adding more stuff, which is a good thing. It's fun to add more stuff. All the stuff more than we originally planned. So more lights, more connectivity. So we couldn't do anything in the floor. We couldn't do anything in the walls. We were really strapped for space. We already had finished and closed in the rear. So really the only two places were in here. So by taking this out, we had access to run a wire and then push it this way down behind the panel and then over here. And that's what I'm kind of showing you guys now. Is how we're doing that. If you do have a fishing wire for getting cables through difficult places, that's a good tool to have when you're working on vans. So I've got one that came with the Dampening system. That'll be in a separate video. We have a really cool navigation display with rear camera and stuff like that in this build. And I've already done a video on it, I just haven't finished editing it. But yeah, that'll be coming very soon. So for this one, I'm gonna try to go back in. So this is what it has. It's kind of like a really stiff wire. But it's more for audio installs, but I like it because it's not, the wire snake that I currently have is a little kind of rusted and not good. So what we're going to do here is take advantage of this back here, this cavity, because we have a little pocket here. So when the panel's on, this is going to allow us to run the wires down here. So we won't have to drill through. We are going to be doing it for the front, because the front side, we've got some stuff up there we have to do. But that will not be today. Now I know you can't see this, but marine grade wiring. We have this really thick outer jacket, and then we still have the 2 wires on the inside that are obviously covered, you know, like normal wires, and it makes it really nice for these runs through here. So what's going through my mind is I just want to make sure that I have a path where I'm not going to be. So when I put the panel on here, I want to drill into this. So I want this right here to be one of my backers, and down here on the bottom we've got. So we've got 1 inch. We got 1.5 inches. That is a safe location, safe for us to 1.5 to 2 inches is a safe area. But then what we're going to do is we'll put our screws in an inch and a half down from here. That way we don't get into our wiring. And then the way we'll do that is these panels will go in last. So we'll do our ceiling to here first. And then we'll put these panels on that'll be upholstered panels. And we'll just map out where all of our stuff is so we don't drill through the wires. That's the goal. A lot of the pausing and thinking is just thinking about what's going to happen, you know, 6 or 7 steps in the future. And that's pretty much the name of the game when it comes to building stuff in a van. So I'm not planning on ever having to access these wires in the future. But what I do want to show is that technically there's 2 panels here, and you could technically take out the Max fan, just a little cover, take these 2 panels out and be able to, you know, run a new wire if something happened. And by the way, you want the wires underneath the insulation. You don't want it to the sheet metal. So just keep that in mind. And then when we get done, we're going to wrap these, and then we're going to zip time to the van so they're not moving around and rattling around. And I know you can't see it, but these wires will actually sit above this stainless steel on the back side here, and then they'll come down along the right side of this Ford wiring harness because we need to upholster that opening. So Okay, so this wire we're going to leave hanging. So this will be our, so our first lights are going to be here, and this will be our, the wiring that we pull for that. So actually these are going to have to go in front. This will have to go in front of this cross member. So we're going to reserve this one for our rigid lights. Now the Rigid Industries lights that we're using, we're going to be, that's going to be a wireless control. So what we have is these six on this hub. So if you haven't seen this video, you should definitely check it out. So here's our hub from EcoFlow. So the first 6 here, these DC outs, are remote controlled. So if you want the panel to control this wirelessly, then that is what you want to do. So we'll just jump on to our label maker, and we're going to make that wire that we just ran, we're going to make that our Rigid Industries light. Okay, so we label it where we're going to terminate the wire, and in a second, when I get everything where I want it to be, we'll do that at the back. When you do get ready to zip tie these, like I am, just make sure they're fill the surface and make sure it's not too sharp of a surface. You can do multiple wires to one mounting point, but just find somewhere that's not sharp. But when you get to go back and insulate it, the insulation is really going to be what's going to stabilize your wire so it's not sawing itself through. And then we're just make sure we're feeling for any type of anything sharp really. Just give us a little slack here in the ceiling. Just gonna throw a little piece of tape on it. And when you go to drill in your this cover, just be mindful where you're screwing into the ceiling. Now we're gonna have a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch, so technically a 1/2 inch, but just push these wires and then tape them out of the way. Then you just won't drill into them. All right, need my zip ties. So for example, we'll put another piece of insulation here and that'll hold that down. Flush trim cutters. Those things are your best friend. Now, I may zip tie this and then cut it later and then re-zip tie it, but everybody's kind of got their own process. Now you could just go through and run a bunch of slack to all these wires and not really measure, but you will go through way more wire than you could ever think. And wire's not that cheap. You can also buy this type of wire loom just to cover wires. We're just going to start playing around with the big stuff. So this is for our 48 volt AC unit. So in here in the ceiling, we've got our connections. So we've got our main power connections here. So we'll need to we'll get a plug to be made for this. So we won't do this yet, but right now, insulation and sealing are starting to come into play. So now we got to start thinking about all the stuff that are related to it or that interact with it. So if you don't have some fish tape, you can just do something wild like I do and use wire to fish wire. So I just use one wire, and then I tape the one that I want to pull up into it and do the other wire. Now, I would recommend that you use electrical tape, not masking tape, to pull wire. I just ran out the other day. So not that the 12-volt wires are not critical, but a 48-volt wire, I don't want to scare people and say it's dangerous, but I do want to caution people that 48 volts is getting up there to pretty serious voltage. Now the benefits are why we put it in vans, is because it's very efficient, but just so that everybody knows to make sure that this is shielded very well. It's not going to get scraped up or cut up or anything like that. So that's why I'm using this Ford factory wire grommet here, that it's sharing this, and I'm putting the big wire through here. It's possible I may move this wire and come down this channel as well, just because this corner up here, yeah, I might change it. But then you'll have so many wires going through here, you don't want this bulge in the wall. So it's kind of just gonna have to see what you're working with. Now, thankfully, they give us plenty of wire to work with. And you can kind of see these two wires. We have like a nice flat section. So we want to keep that flat section going up there. We don't want this twisted and kinked as we're going up there. And depending on wherever we zip tie it, we're going to put this extra shielding around whatever area that is. So we'll probably put it independently on this 48 volt wire. And then when we get done, I'll probably cut the zip tie that's holding this in, wrap my wires that are on this piece of metal, and then finish my insulation. Now we don't need this much slack, but I need to, you want to be able to work on this, get that plug in on here, get that on here, and then we can move it around. So this looks, that length actually looks really good. Because when we put it in the ceiling, we'll probably do a little snake like that. Put the plug there just so we have slack. So if anything needs to be worked on in the future, we've got slack to work with. So for right now, that's okay. And then over here, that's okay too. And then I'm just going to zip tie this to the Ford harness. We're just keeping everything nice and neat. Okay, and then for now we can just get this out of our way. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so we're going to cut our first wire. So that was our Rigid Industries. So we need to take our label, and I always go about a foot back to put the label on. That way I'm not in the way of my wire stripping or anything like that. But now there's no guessing. Labeled. Just throw it out of the way. It's labeled up there. Makes everything super fast when we actually start to put everything in. Yeah, and I'm glad I'm not putting those other wires now because the solar wires are pretty thick coming through here. So we're gonna use this for the solar wire as well. Because our solar is gonna be in the 30, 40 amp range. So I'm actually gonna grab, let's do the solar wire next. All right, so hopefully, okay, we got PV in. So here's our EcoFlow cable kit. This is our second box. So first box has the communication cables and some other stuff, and then this one is our should be our PV photovoltaic, let's see, AC hub, AC, power hub, solar charge cable. Awesome. All right, this is 30 amps max. So I just told you 40. So let's hop on the computer and let's do a little bit of double checking this. So I'm going to go to, let's see here. Let's see. So what I'm doing is, I think I had, so this is what we're installing. This 580 watts of mist match solar panels. Now that sounds, what am I trying to say? That sounds like it's a bad thing, but everybody has mismatched solar panels usually on a roof because of the different sizes. The layout of the roof is challenging. Okay, here we go. So down here in his video, let me see, let me move my, wait, hold a second. Move my face up here. Okay, let's go down here. Okay, so the voltage is higher and the amperage is a little lower. So So he's calculating this as 14.72 amps max at 35.8 volts. Okay. So I'm usually working with a lower number, so say 20 volts. So let's go to, now I know this is random, we're just, this will make sense in a second. Let me get all the info on the screen. Okay, so we're going to go over to Renogy. And go to their solar panels. And we'll go to a 200 watt panel. Okay, so this is what I see normally is like 23 volts at 10 amps. So the voltage is a little lower and the amps are a little higher for one panel. So the way that this is being wired up, the voltage is higher, which I understand that to be better for solar efficiency, but the amps are a little bit lower. So yeah, I'll have to take a deep dive on that because the way that these panels are, I typically don't wire these like this, but what's nice about going with a kit designed specifically with someone like Nate that, if you don't know Nate from Explorers.life, this is their channel. So Nate and Steph, Explorers.life, they go to a bunch of van shows, but he does real big deep dives on electrical circuitry, design, planning your system. So this is a really good resource if you need to know the nitty-gritty about the details of van power and solar. And that's why I went with this system, is because what we're doing is we have somebody that's already done the math and integrated all these panels into something that they're doing the best wiring with this setup. So for example, if you don't segment these panels when you're doing solar, and I know this might be going down a wormhole that you guys may know or not know, but if you just have two 200 watt panels and then you wire them together, you will add the amperage together. But if you have mismatched panels, the math's going to be different on this. So two standard panels, same wattage, is straightforward connection straight into your MPPT or PWM solar charge controller. But then when you start to mix and match different voltages, so for example, these first two are 20 volts, the second two are 18.7, and the last two are 17.9. Then you take into account how they're different wattages. You need to have a plan of action on how you're going to actually connect these to where you get the best bang for your buck efficiency-wise out of the panels. Because if you just wire them all straight together, you're going to get the lowest common denominator, to my understanding, is what you're going to get out of these panels versus a more power that you could have got if you actually wired them correctly. So by going with Nate's recommendation here, since he designed this with the panels, and then working with Unaka, this is kind of like an all-in-one solution. So basically, Unaka is designing the structure to hold all the panels. Rich Solar is what Nate's using to provide the solar panels. And then Nate is doing the math to figure out how to most efficiently get the power out of these panels. So we have these first two 200 watts that are together. Then we have the 255 watts that are together, and then the 235 watts that are together. And then how we bring them with these branch adapters and connect them together is all specific to give us this output right here. So what I was verifying is that this 14.72 is not more than the 30 amps that these cables can withstand. Because EcoFlow has no idea what's being put up on the roof. So we just need to double check. So we can do the rough math on paper when we order everything, but then when stuff starts coming together, we need to just pause and make sure we're safe and we're doing this the right way. Let's see, we got these two. How much cable do we got here? So Jamie asked, what fan are we using? So we're using the Max fan. So technically, Max fan is Air Excel. So that's the name of the company. Then Max fan is what everybody calls it. But they have different series. So we're using the 7500K, 7500 series. And that's going to be your fully automated. It's going to be able to give you auto open and close at a set 78 degrees. So if the van gets up to past 78 degrees, it'll automatically open. If you have that option set, it'll automatically close. And then it has a remote control with it. Okay, since we have enough, say we've got enough cables here. Yeah, we can pull this through. I'm probably going to cut this cable in two, but you guys watching this, I know I'd probably give you a heart attack if I just start chopping up the solar cables. We're going to go through in another video. I've already done it, but I'll show you how to chop these off and then put new connectors on. So these are called MC4 connectors. And they look pretty scary as far as how they work, but essentially all they are is if you undo this cap, there's a pin and a plastic housing. And you just crimp the pin on, snap the plastic housing in, and then this gland fitting is what kind of gets it waterproof. But as you can imagine, if you were using this and you were trying to get it through your van, you may need to actually cut these off. So what you want to do is just identify which side is the positive, and then you're going to snip it, and then you can run your wire. So I'm going to try to run this without cutting them off, because I might, I'm probably going to end up cutting them off, but for now, I'm not. I'm just going to run this wire. But if I can't make it through here, I will cut it off. look at that. Don't have to chop it off yet. Well, maybe for this conversion I'll do it because the Adventure Wagon one I did, these were not able to be accessed. So I'll probably just do my fittings up here. Actually, the fittings come out right here, and then I'll run a cable down, and then we can connect them. So it's 99.9999% chance we'll never ever go back to that cable. So you might not be able to zoom in on this, but see, if you just start, if you keep everything just nice and neat, it'll just kind of stack on itself, and then that way when you put the panel in, it'll be nice and flat, and you'll look like a pro. Okay, so here's this. We're just gonna let that hang out right there. Now we can just take this. This is already labeled, so we're not going to have to label this. I will kind of wind it up a little bit. Try to keep our work area a little bit clean. All right, but this, so you can't see it, but I just wrapped it up. I know the camera's in a weird position. Okay. So we're just going to throw that out the back of the van. Let's keep moving on with the wiring. Okay. Doing good. We got our DC to DC charging, cable number 1. We're waiting on that other one from EcoFlow. We've got our 48 volt cable for our rooftop AC. Our solar cable, we've got, doing good. We're almost, I do have to go run by the store. I've been putting it off because it's about an hour away from here, so. But it's a West Marine, and that's where we're going to get our 12-3 wire for our microwave, and maybe it was just microwave. Okay, we're going to get back to our 18 gauge. Let's get back to our 18 gauge. Oh yeah, let's hop on the computer really quick. Just want to double check something here. All right, now I have a lot of things memorized in my head, all kinds of technical information, but I try not to memorize everything because it gets filled up. So let's look at the Amber Rigid Industries light we're going to be installing, and we're just going to come on down. 9 watts. Okay, let's see here. So we're 18 is going to be okay. You remember, so 18 gauge. 18 gauge max amps. You're 14, 16 amps. Yeah. We're only going to be pulling 0.75 amps, and you guys can't see that. So right here, we got a 0.75 amp draw, 9 watts when it's going. So that's something you just want to double check. So if we were wiring 16, 18 of these, we might want to upgrade our wire, but we're doing 1. So just pause whenever you're building, do a little double check. I'm gonna grab some water. I've been talking way too much. Okay, let's do our rear reading lights because we'll do a rear reading lights next. To be honest, this this extra cable it's much easier than using the fish tape, which is hilarious. So I'm just using a wire to pull a wire. Yeah, don't use masking tape. Now, if you had this super planned out, you could go ahead and just, pull 4 wires or so, but just kind of mapping this out as I go. I like to do stuff while I'm working in the van because if you plan everything out on paper, it doesn't, you're not thinking of the insulation or how it interacts with the ceiling, or you're just not feeling how it goes through the van. So it's just kind of my personal take on that. When I'm in the van and I can actually see what's going on, that's better than a engineer drawing. Okay, so I didn't insulate this side because this has got a bunch of stuff going on. But before I get over here, I will start insulating first. I've already put, I'm going to change the camera, so just hold on one second. So I've already done the sound dampening. I just need to there you go. And so if you saw me what I was doing, just kind of doing this, I just do that so I'm about 99% accurate on how much wire I need to pull. Oh yeah. We're putting insulation in. Multitasking. Okay, here's our bat. Just gonna fold it up. We have a barrier right here that's challenging to get by. Now, I already know if I need to wire another wire that I'm coming on the top corner up here, so this insulation won't really affect me that much if I need to go back and pull some more wire. But I probably won't have to. Still thinking in the back of my mind which way I want to run the front lights, because I think I may do them on the driver's side, not the passenger side. Because it really doesn't matter, but I mean, I'll probably save like 10 feet of wire. Now, I try not to save everything. I'm not super stickler for that, because you kind of have to balance getting it done versus, saving wire. So, yeah, I'm just thinking about it. And if you can find a pair of carpet scissors, this is actually my grandfather's pair of scissors, so it's a pretty awesome pair of shears. It's really cool. He initialed all of his tools, so every tool that he owned, he put his initials on, so it's really cool. I know a lot of people that do that these days. All right, so that looks good there. Let's see Can we get this one? Yeah, you don't want to force the insulation. So if it's too big, definitely cut it down in size. So we're going to come in and do this hard part first, so this middle part of the chamber. You don't have those at the beginning of the van, but you do have them at the back of the van. Okay, so see how this is not looking too puffy? We're just gonna shake this a little bit. And now, should be a little bit better. Okay. And like I said, we're doing the driver's side. We can take a little bit of this off cut. And where the wire is coming through the van, we can just put this insulation in front of it. And it's going to keep it from chafing on that. You still need a zip tie to hold it into place, but it'll keep it from chafing on the steel. So now we have our wire here, and see what we're going to do? We're just going to cover it, just like that. And that back here, it keeps it off of the van wall. So this one looks like, okay, that one might be good for right there. Actually, let's do that. That's pretty nice. Okay, so this one, if I don't have to cut a hole, I don't want to. So I think what I'm going to do is try to maneuver this wire down and around. Just disappearing. There it goes. Nice. Look at that. All right. Excellent. Because our light is right here. So I didn't want to. Okay, how's that? That is enough So remember, you want to be able to possibly connect it to the panel and then bring it in. So we're just gonna do that and zip tie it and check it off the list. And since we're probably never coming back over here, let's go ahead and just put a little insulation to help it out with any type of vibration. So we're just going to put this insulation down here around the wire. Put that on top. We'll just zip it on down. There it goes. Now it's gonna worry about it grabbing on anything. All right, that was good. All right, moving here. Let's finish this up. And don't forget about this top area. A lot of people forget about this top chamber and they just insulate what they can see. Ah. All right, where are we going from here? This is pretty simple. We won't do this in this video, but we'll be taking this off and insulating this. I'm doing my own bed system. So it's pretty much about 3 different bed systems that I've rolled into one. So we're gonna have this Baltic birch 1/2 inch here and here. That's not only gonna be bolted, screwed into the underlayment. That's not for structure, that's just to bring everything nice and tight. But then we've got these 4 screws, and we're gonna use riv nuts. And we're going to bolt that Baltic birch to here, so we'll have essentially like a really structural headboard that's effectively 3/4 of an inch thick. And then we're going to put down 5 of the telescoping IKEA bed rails. And we've actually I got the brackets here. The bed rails are in the van, my van. But let's see, where they go. So it's called Impressa. You can actually buy these bed frame brackets right here. So you can buy these on Amazon, and it's pretty robust. I mean, robust. See, I mean, these are chunky screws. We got 3 per bracket. So 3 screws per bracket times 10 brackets. And keep in mind, 1 bed rail is what IKEA uses for 2 people in a bed. And we're putting 5. And so these are the stamped steel brackets. So we'll have 5. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so right here, these will be riv nutted into the van. Our Baltic birch, which is super strong, rigid, and then these screws will be going into this, and that'll essentially be the frame. And I think it's Good way to do it because it keeps it close to the, it's structural to the van, kind of like the adventure wagon idea. Yet the bedrolls can be removed if you do want to use your van to actually regain some of the cargo functionality. Okay, now, where else can we get to in this live stream? Oh yeah, let's wire the max fan. That would be appropriate. All right, we almost broke our rule here. We got to make sure we label this light. So this is 12 volt. We're just going to do read LED rear. Reading light, that's LED, 12 volt for the rear. I need to print 2 of those. Boom. Tag it. Let's get rid of some of this excess. I forgot to get rid of that excess cable, so we need to remove this zip tie. So when I do these last runs, I keep this loose, and then here I keep it loose, but then it's tight in here. So now we can just, so yeah, you can see how much slack you got. So imagine you do this 10 times. That's a lot of wire that you could be reusing for another part of the van. Yeah, for that one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take just a piece of tape. Move the camera. So let's not forget, take our second label, put this guy on here. Now, just toss it out the back. Don't even have to think about it. All right, now, doing good. Things still looking nice and neat. Let's get the max fan wired. Max fan, let's double check current on the max fan. So the quick way you can do it is just type in, you can type in max fan fuse size. This is 5 amps. The max fan is designed for a nominal 12 volt. Supplying 5 amps to the max fan, 5 amps. So then we do, now this can be for anything. This is just to help you guys kind of get an understanding of electrical. So 5 amp wire gauge. So let's see if we can check this right here. And I just kind of show you different examples because there's all kinds of places where you can get this information. So I know it's hard to see. I can't zoom in on this website. Well, there you go. I can. So we have, so we're using 18 gauge. And so 18 gauge is 7 amps. And then we got 16 gauge. All right, let's go to our Blue Sea Systems one. Okay, so we got a 5 amp fuse, and that wire is that wire will be traveling. Let's get our tape measure out. This is okay. So let's go ahead. We got 3. 7, so we got 14 feet, 14, 15, 16, 16 feet, 17 feet. We got about 17 feet. So notice right here we've got 17 feet. And I would always err on the side of caution. Sometimes circuit boards are sensitive to electrical. Certain refrigerators are sensitive to voltage drops. Other stuff will work just fine, like a reading light probably won't even, care. But I want to show you, I'm going to make this an extreme example, but it goes for pretty much anything. But since we're going past 15 feet for a critical voltage drop, we're getting into the next one, which is a 14 gauge wire. What I would do is I'm going to change this. I think I got 14 gauge. Let's see. So this is where you would want to start double checking how long and what you're running. So pretty much the max 14 gauge that we have would go 20 feet. And we're like 17, 18 feet. So I don't have 14 gauge, but I do have 12 gauge. So for the fan, because the fan is probably going to be used a lot, that doesn't make a difference. We still need to wire it appropriately. But we're going to oversize this, and that's going to give us all the headwind we need. So what that means is with a 12 gauge wire, critical voltage drop, that means we can go 25, 30 feet. So, but we're only going, it's probably going to be probably 18 feet, just call it 20. So we would be on the line if we use 14, but if we use 12 gauge, we can go 25 feet. So we got it right here. So we're going to use it. So one thing you can actually do. Let's see, where is, oh, the fans on the roof. One thing you can do is actually look on the fan. The fan is using doesn't actually say. Yeah, so we got 16 gauge. But remember, it's not just because the fan's using 16 gauge, it's the distance that the electricity has to go that designates, or that's part of designating what power to use. Because this is a lower gauge wire, so it's less resistance. So even though this has 16 gauge, for example, if you ran a 16 gauge cable a half a mile, the voltage would not be the same on the other end. It would be much less. All right, so let's take this wire. I wonder if I can just go straight up here. Nice, look at that. So if you watch Humble Road, he does mention that sometimes he's seen some Max fans be very sensitive to voltage changes. So by oversizing our wire, if that is an issue with ours, we should not have a problem because it's going to get all the voltage that it requires. So that's another thing that's kind of mind-blowing is you wouldn't believe that the Max fan being here, that going down, over, and down into the distribution panel is 17 feet. That's pretty wild, right? And just a reminder, the chat is live, so if you guys have any questions, van-related stuff, I'd be happy to answer it for you. Let's see, all of our wires, where are we going? They're all coming in on the, okay. So all the wires from the Max fan are on the right side. I don't want to wrap it around to this side because that would make no sense since we're in control of what we're doing here. So we're just going to, do that. Put a piece of tape up. That is where we're going to, that's where we're going to land our wire. So you see how this tape helps out. We're just keeping everything, again, just nice and neat as we do this. Now, I keep taping over the insulation. I'm not sure why I do that. There we go. Again, keeping these, so all these cables, just keeping them nice, even, neat. Okay, I'm just gonna come down here, measure off. Where'd my snips go? Over there. All right. So now let's get our label. Let's call this max fan. Once again, we got our cable, so we just throw it out the back. And this one's pretty self-explanatory, but we're not gonna change our process. And if you wonder why I do it sideways, is when I tape it to the label itself, it's impossible to take off almost. But if you just do it straight, wouldn't suggest that. All right. So this guy can just hang out right there. All right, we got our rear reading light, we got our amber, max fan. Got our front of the van where we will need to drill a hole in the front. Yeah. So I have to do that in the front. So I'll probably do that on a different video. Let's see what else here. Let's insulate this rear area. So now we can actually go back and zip tie. We're going to wrap that wire in a little bit of Havelock, and then we'll zip tie it. Okay, that's all done. I'm still thinking about the front LED lights and the reading light. I like how that wire came through the channel in the back when we just did the back one, so I'm gonna try to see if it's possible with this one. Why did I do that? I tightened that panel up so tight as if I was never going to take it out. What is that size? Yeah, so we're gonna wire this one, wire the back one, and the front and rear LEDs, and then that should be it for our 12-volt electrical besides that one wire that we need to pick up. So see how far we can get here. So I have that, there's still that pocket right here. I just don't know. Now it's completely sealed. So with the light, I may also be putting a USB charging port there. So I think what I'm going to do, I think we're going to go ahead and drill that out. And let's see if I can show you what we're going to use for that. So what we're going to use are these things. It's a 1.5" furniture hole cover. You can get the rubber, what am I trying to say? But this is what's going to go in and protect the wire from the sheet metal. We're going to use marine adhesive to put that in. And then right here we've got a bimetal hole saw blade that we'll be using. So let's go ahead and get this knocked out. So I may have to show you guys a picture of it later. I'll move the camera in as close as I can. So we're gonna have to run 2 wires. Since we are gonna be doing that, I'll probably wrap them really well, and then I'll just run all those wires down there. So I'm gonna run the wires for the fridge, for the microwave, for the USB outlet. We'll do our communication wires for the EcoFlow and all that stuff. And then we'll get a big old plastic sleeve, and we'll put all that into this this bottom area down there. So since we know that is not going to be knocked out, what we can do, and so this is what I was telling you about, don't get hard on yourself if you not finishing one task at a time, because you're going to have multiple variables come up in your build process. So the good news is we can finish wiring up the top, and we can go ahead and close that in, and then we can close the right side in. And since we don't have that cable for our floor, we can just focus on really knocking out the ceiling until that cable comes in, and then we can hop back down to the floor when it comes in, put the cable in, put our communication wires in down here, and then have that all prepped for our refrigerator microwave stack. Because we're going to be putting a ton of insulation in here. We're going to be stuffing these two. So this is going to be a very well insulated van for sure. That is the benefit. So less windows, maximize your thermal value, envelope, whatever you call it. Okay, so let's go ahead and drill that hole. So we're just going to go midway here on this channel, and we're going to go center to the box. That way we can just, in our panel, we can come down and have our wire right here for our USB port. One pro tip, if you're going to buy hole saws, get a really nice, expensive set. Don't get Harbor Freight or go to Lowe's. Go to Lowe's, but maybe get like a spider set or something like that. The worst thing in the world is using a cheap hole saw and it making your hole out of round, and then whatever you're putting into it doesn't fit. It's not good. Especially on a van, because I mean, once you cut stuff in a van, I mean, you can't cut a window out in a van, you can't go back. You cut a hole like that in a van, you can't go back. And I'm just going to take some of this paper, I'm going to tape around here. And so I've got plastic over here. I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to drape it over this corner. Because I'm going to put a little bit of spray paint on here, let it set. I use this stuff called Krylon Fusion, and it's pretty amazing stuff. You can it dries very quickly. Not finishing my sentences. It means it's time to grab some food. That's what we're doing here. I'm just gonna cook this with some paint, and then I'm gonna grab something to eat. And you might see me, I always use matte black. It's just what I use. Okay, smart thing to do is two things. We want to get our deburr tool, which looks like this, deburr tool. We're going to get the burrs out, and then we're going to take our cap and just make sure it fits in the hole. Let's not assume anything. All right, it's perfect. Okay, the deburr takes all the burrs off as it states. Then that little grommet can go right in there. It's going to dust off this little bit of stuff, and then we're just going to lightly I'm going to hit this from the bottom really quick. So I'm just use a piece of board. And that way we spray it from the underside. And now we're just going to come nice and light, spray it on the top. That's it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this live stream, but make sure you guys go online and you check out the DIY van build cheat sheet on vanbuilderhq.com. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to pull it up really quick. Let's go to vanbuilderhq.com, and you're going to check out this sheet right here. It's called the DIY van build cheat sheet, and it's essentially an Excel sheet that I put together of the last 3 years of all of my Amazon purchases for the shop. This sheet is completely free. It's got over 250 curated items, and it's just a great go-to place to get started with your van build, or if you're stuck trying to find products. So that's the DIY van build cheat sheet. It's completely free. Click on the link, put your name and email address, and you can download it, and I think it'll really help you out. Also, check out vanbuilderhq.com. We've got a ton of blog posts on the site, everything from how to build a compact DIY power system, camper van countertop ideas for your van, heaters, electrical, best camper van awning guide. Just a lot of stuff. Basically anything in my brain I just put into a blog post with a bunch of information to help you guys out. So if you want to go through and you just want to go step by step and read through some things that I've gone more of a deep dive into, this is a great way to learn about that as opposed to the channel and what I teach on here and what you guys have seen. So yeah, check it out. Tons of pictures, a lot of options. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. But that's the vanbuilderhq.com. And then throughout the articles, you'll always be able to grab a link to click and download the free DIY van build cheat sheet. And then also, if you guys are interested in doing a custom van conversion, so Odyssey Custom Vans, that is my business. That's the van we're working on behind us. So the one currently is John and Susan's van. That's who is getting their custom van built by me. And sometimes we have vans for sale other than customer builds that we're doing. And the one right now that we have as of filming this is our van that we took to Adventure Van Expo in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So it's a all-wheel drive EcoBoost, which is the turbocharged V6 Ford Transit high roof 148-inch wheelbase, the same wheelbase that we're working on in this van. It's an Adventure Wagon interior kit install. So we purchased, the shop purchased an Adventure Wagon interior kit. We put it in this van, and then we added Flatline Vanco Adventure Wagon compatible accessories. So that's a different company other than other than Adventure Van Expo, but the cabinets bolt in, the bed bolts in, the kitchen galleys bolt in. There's a little bit of modification, but this van is currently for sale, and I'm really excited to show it to you guys. If you want to see some preliminary images, which are these, I say that because I haven't made the fancy, nice YouTube tour video yet, but this van is currently for sale. What's nice is, there's still time to customize certain aspects of it. What's not in this photo is we've added a rear tire carrier from Flatline Vanco. We've also added a rear adventure rack on the back door, so that way you can put your mountain bikes on there. You can have, or you can bolt like a really cool rear storage cabinet. And this van is loaded. We've got a Dometic 12-volt rooftop AC, 420 watts of solar, the Deluxe Max fan, Isotherm Cruise 130 fridge, huge fridge. We've also have 600 amp hours of the Renogy Smart Lithium Iron Phosphates, phosphate batteries. And with that power system, we've got their brand new off-grid Rego 3000 pure sine wave inverter charger. So that's going to allow you to do shore power charging, 3000 watts of pure sine wave inverter for all your power needs for the 110 side of your van. But what's really cool is I've coupled this with their new Renogy M1 system, which is their off-grid controller system. So it pairs via Bluetooth between the inverter, the dual DC to DC MPPT solar charge controllers that we have. So you have 100 amps of DC to DC alternator charging. Then you got 420 watts of rooftop solar. And then if you're at a park, you do have the 30 amps of shore power. And then I wanted to make sure that this van was, the build was super clean. So between the ones that I've built, between mine and other customers, for example, I had a lot of fun with Thomas's van because we have so many controllers and Bluetooth and like Garmin power switches and Red Arc systems. So I love doing that. It's really cool, but I know a lot of other customers would like to have something super sleek, simple, easy to use. And so that was the design philosophy behind this one. So we have our all-in-one M1 controller, which is going to manage everything, your solar input, and all of the power system in one unit. These three switches right here, we have our indoor lighting, are indirect lighting, so that's going to be hidden behind all the cabinets, and it gives a really cool vibe in the van. And then this third switch is going to be your outdoor scene light for, or your porch light, I guess you could call it. And that's going to be that Rigid Industries amber, same that we're putting in the van behind me. Then we got our Deluxe Max fan remote. We have a independently controlled inverter, and what's nice about that is you can just quickly turn it on, quickly turn it off. You don't have to go into the app and turn it on. So sometimes a push button, it's more simple than Wi-Fi, Bluetooth kind of setup. Now, the circuits that are on this switch over here on the left, all of these 3 circuits you can control wirelessly from your phone. So at nighttime, you can turn all your lights off before you go to bed. And the same with the heating, which is over here on the right. That's the Webasto Smart Temp 3.0 Bluetooth. So if you're in bed, it's, cold, and you want to just heat the van up before you get out of bed, make your coffee, that can be all done from your phone. So just nice, easy setup. There's nothing really deep you have to learn about this van. It's just simple, easy to use. There's a bonus. If you do want to have 24/7 monitoring of your system, and you do have a Wi-Fi antenna installed or some type of onboard Wi-Fi, you can connect the Renogy M1 to it, and say your van is remotely in storage, you can actually, with that Wi-Fi hotspot that you put in the van, it's not included in this, but it does have the ability to connect to your Wi-Fi hotspot, and then you can remotely monitor the condition of your van. So temperature, the batteries, state of charge, all that good stuff. And then what's really cool is we're using the DC to DC MPPT combo chargers from Renogy. We got 2 of them. And when they see that the battery bank in the back of the van is fully charged, it'll actually check your battery on your engine battery and see if it needs to be trickle charged. And it will send, after one is 100%, it'll look to the engine battery and see if it needs to be topped off a little bit, which is really, really cool. That's a rare feature to find on systems that will, double check to see if the engine battery is doing that. Now, I just found this out 2 days ago. I haven't verified it, but I believe that EcoFlow's new update is going to allow the EcoFlow system to do the same thing. So, John and Susan, if you're watching, I'm going to check on that update and see if we can see if that's a feature that has been turned on for the system that we're installing for you guys. Yeah. So that's the system here. Pretty cool. Love to show this to you guys if anybody's interested in purchasing this van. If you are, contact me, sales@OdysseyCustomVans, or you can shoot me a call or a text. The best way to reach me is this link, because when you click on this link, you can get on my calendar and you can actually schedule a date and a time that's most convenient for you. So if you're interested in purchasing the vans that are currently for sale as of filming this video, click this link, select a time. If you want to have your own van custom built by me, on this left-hand side, we've got a little bit of an onboarding where it'll just, a little paragraph to read just to let you know what to expect during the phone call. So you do the same thing, pick a date, pick a time, and it'll pop up on my calendar, and we'll chat about your custom van conversion build. All right, guys, I am going to grab some food, and I'll be back later if I can get the tools I need to knock out the roof fan. So we're going to be gluing it down, all that good stuff. But until then, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell because I go live at random times. I want to make sure you guys don't miss a live stream. So click notifications, turn all that stuff on. Then you'll know exactly when I'm going live. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share this video to anybody that's doing insulation or electrical wiring. They need some help on getting started or just some ideas from what I've done in this video today. And as always, you can always ask me questions in the chat live. I'll stop what I'm doing. I'd love to answer your questions. It doesn't have to be the topic that we're actually filming. We can do anything. And then if we're not live, put those questions in the comment. I'll answer them in a future video. And then, yeah, that's how we'll do that. But we'll see you guys in the next live stream.